He doesn't have any ostriches for the exotic animal races, but what trainer Greg Compton does have is about 20-ish horses stabled at Delaware Park right now, and more on the way. They just bought some 2-year-olds and got some other horses making their way back. We'll be talking about all of that and much more coming up in a moment here on Midlantic Racing Today, Delaware Park Today. My name is Frank Vespi. Thanks for joining us here on Midlantic Racing Today. Midlantic Racing Today, powered by the Racing Biz, the racingbiz.com. And Delaware Park Today is presented by our friends at Delaware Park Racing and Casino. A little bit down the road a piece, we're going to have Delaware on-air analyst Stan Salter join us. We'll recap last week's racing action and look ahead to the week to come, and particularly Saturday's card, which features 6 thoroughbred races and, yes, 3 exotic animal races. Couldn't hustle Greg into putting anything in the exotic animal races, but lots of other good stuff. Without further ado, here's Greg Compton. Greg, thanks for joining me here on Delaware Park Today. Appreciate it. I got to start you with this. It's July 4th. There's going to be exotic animal races at Delaware. I think the fields are a little short. You got an ostrich you can drop in, maybe?
I have no ostriches, no exotic animals.
Oh, man.
And actually, last year I was at Monmouth. I had a horse, Autoglide, running at Monmouth that day, and he won. Everything looked good. I went up to the grandstand, and I wanted to watch. There was a couple horses running that day, and I saw the crowd, and it was just like, oh my God, where are all these people? I've never seen a crowd this big at Delaware Park.
No, it was crazy.
I mean, it looked like they were 8-10 deep from the rail out. And when they panned back to where you could kind of see into the grandstand, all the seating looked like it was full. I mean, it looked like a crowded house that day.
Yeah, I know. I wasn't there. I, like you, I was watching online or whatever, but I was just like, how is it that we could get, that many people out to watch, like, zebras running circles, and we can't get people to come out and watch thoroughbred racing, which is awesome to watch.
And you can't bet on the exotics. So, I mean, at least you make a little money with the thoroughbreds.
Or lose a little, but
either way.
All right, so no ostriches. This is a disappointment, but we'll soldier on.
I think they cut the card a little too, so
just
not as many
races.
6 or 7 races, and 10 o'clock. I don't know what that's going to do for the crowd, but 10 o'clock's an early post time.
Yeah, well, that actually gets to the next thing I want to ask you about the first real thing, which is the heat. I mean, it's just crazy hot all over the Mid-Atlantic right now. How are you guys dealing with that?
This morning it wasn't too bad. Or after 9 o'clock, it really started to heat up quickly. I left about 10:15, and it was already up to 110 with a heat index at Delaware Park. So it's warm.
Yeah. So what do you do with tomorrow? If it's probably going to be hotter in the morning tomorrow than it was today. What do you do with the horses? How do you protect the horses?
Tomorrow we'll play it by ear. We'll see what the temp's like, what the heat index is like. We may just get them out and jog them just to get them out of the stall and keep them, moving, and just kind of keep them in a little bit of a routine where they don't get too bored. We probably won't do too much with them if it's warm. I go back every night and check the horses. I was back last night at, 9 o'clock, 9:15, somewhere in there. And it was still like a 101 with the heat index last night at that time.
Yeah, no, it's crazy. So do you have do you need extra fans, or
we've set up some extra fans. I've got some bigger fans. Every horse has got a fan in the stalls above the door blowing down, where I usually have it angled to where it'll hit a wall, and then it kind of like rotates. It'll kind of go around the stall to try to keep the air moving. And we've got some bigger fans that we've set up in the shed row to kind of keep airflow moving down the shed row.
Um, have you had any issues so far, or everybody doing good?
Everybody's fine so far.
Yeah. Have you have I mean you've been training what since like '09, so you've probably confronted this sort of stuff before.
Oh yeah. You know, '09 and 10, I was at Ellis Park, and I think it was probably one of the two of the hottest summers there. I mean, it was really. I mean, if HISA was in effect, then they probably would have never run. And it's
Yeah.
probably a good thing for like Louisiana Downs, because if I mean they run during the day, and at Louisiana Downs they would probably never run either. It's a
Yeah.
non-HISA state right now.
Right, right, right. That's right. Well, that's going to be interesting to see how that all plays out because I think we're
Yeah,
got to end up at the Supreme Court sooner or later with
I would think so.
different circuits going in different directions. So, so you trained basically half the year at Oaklawn and half the year at Delaware. I guess how'd you end up coming to Delaware in the first place?
Uh, you know, when I first started at Oaklawn, probably about a year after I started at Oaklawn, Pat Pope became the racing secretary here. He tried to get me to come, but I was really bent on staying in Kentucky, and so I stayed there. Probably should have come here, gotten in here earlier, but a friend of mine, uh, Lenny Rera, he used to work in the racing office here, and he was always on me about wanting to come here. So in 17, I finally said, you know what, we're going to try it out, and I've been here ever since. So I love it.
Really, why? What do you love about it?
Well, I mean, main thing is it really sets up nice with my schedule to go to Oaklawn. I can come here, stay here, half the year, and then go back home for half the year. And I can pretty much run everything out of its own stall. I mean, you go to Kentucky, they're changing venues every 6 weeks. So you're shipping or you're moving every 6 weeks. So who
Mm-hmm.
wants to do that? I can stay here, with the way with the occupancy rate on the backside, I can pretty get, the amount of stalls I need, or that would not be the case in Kentucky unless I wanted to stable probably at a place at like Ellis Park. I could
Mm-hmm.
probably get what I needed there. But I like to keep everything under one roof where I can see
Mm-hmm.
everything every day.
Mm-hmm. How many do you have?
Right now we've got 20. I've got a couple more coming in. I just bought one online a couple days ago at Fazig Tipton online auction. And then I've got one that needed a little time off right after Oaklawn that's going to be coming back in the next few days.
Okay. Now Oaklawn, I mean, it's a little bit higher end, obviously. I mean, those purses are crazy good. I would imagine it's like I would imagine that you get horses that don't quite fit or run at a higher level at Delaware and then got to drop down the ladder at Oaklawn. Is that true?
Uh, Pretty much. I mean, the claiming horses, like I'll claim horses at Oaklawn, and when they come here, a lot of the times they move up. If they're horses we just want, we need to move them on, we might drop them, make sure we win, and then move them on, because I've already had probably 4 or 5 claimed off of me since we've been here. So,
Right.
I typically don't do a lot of claiming here to take back to Oaklawn. Every once in a while there'll be one or two, but
Mm-hmm.
used to, you could maybe catch some 2-year-old maidens, that might be that somebody might be trying to sneak through and just try to win a race. It ends up being a nice horse.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. So what do you, I mean, how do you, because looking at the records, like you said, you've had a few claimed from you, you haven't claimed anything. How are you going to replenish?
We'll look, in Kentucky in the fall. We'll look for some horses there. Um, probably try to buy a few horses online, or
Mm-hmm.
go to some auctions. there's always the November sale at Keeneland. So we'll try to get some nicer horses to take back to Oaklawn.
Excuse me. And there's like a brief period where the like Delaware's closed and Oaklawn's not open yet, right?
Small window. Actually, Oaklawn's going to start. Opening day is Black Friday this year. They're going to start the day after Thanksgiving.
Okay.
So that's about 5, maybe 6 weeks in between. I'll get down there. We'll get everything settled in Hot Springs. And typically I'll go run a few horses over at Oklahoma.
Okay.
At Remington.
Yeah.
Because the way Oaklawn has like their allowances set up, their allowance races set up, you can win the allowance race in Oklahoma and you're still eligible with the money clause to run in the entry level allowances at Oaklawn Park.
So it's like what Delaware does that
Yes.
lets in like the Tampa allowance.
Yeah.
Which can still come in.
Exactly.
Got it. Okay. Is it hard? Like when I mean, there's a lot of logistics moving your whole business from Arkansas to Delaware and then back to Arkansas. One of which I would think, does your staff stick with you or do you have to restaff each time?
A lot of my exercise riders and most of my grooms have stayed. We've had to hire a few hot walkers in both places. So it hasn't been too bad. And, I'm not trying to brag, but I have a good enough reputation on the backside. Finding help in either spot's not that hard because, we pay fair and they get paid every week. So they like that.
Yeah,
the employees like that.
Yeah, people do like to get paid when they work. So what is the biggest challenge for you guys logistically then in the move?
It's, just getting the trucks there, honestly, because when Oaklawn, moving back to Oaklawn's not that big a deal, getting the trucks. It may be, I think it might be easier this year. But when we're trying to move back, it's right. Usually when Monmouth is opening up and everybody's trying to get out of Florida and get up here at the same time when Oaklawn is closing and I'm trying to get back up. So sometimes trying to find trucks is a tough thing to do.
That's like one of those things trainers have to worry about. The rest of us would never even think of as an issue.
I mean, the horses handle it, pretty well. I mean, it with the drivers on the trucks, they're usually tag teams. So you've got the trucks moving the entire time pretty much. I mean, they're going straight through. Okay. So they're up there pretty quick.
It's like 1,200 miles, so it's a pretty good hike, but
yeah, it's a little less than 1,200.
Yeah,
from gate to gate.
Right, but your barn certainly here at Delaware the last few years, and again this year, your horses have hit the ground running. You're 8 for 25 at the meet, which is third leading trainer by wins. So looks like no hiccups so far.
No hiccups so far. Everything's been running well. We're very pleased with that. Like I said, there's a couple of them the last 2 weeks that, we kind of wish we would have been able to hit that wire first, but everything's running well. They've come out of the races in good shape. So I'm not going to be too disappointed about it. There'll be another race.
Right. Well, right. It's so critical that they come out in good shape because then you could do it again. So you grew up in Arkansas, and you told me a couple of years ago you're always interested in the horses, but did not grow up in a racing family, right?
No. No, I was, the people across the street from us, they used to go to the races all the time. And I remember when I was a kid, we'd go over there when they get home from school. They're a couple of years older than me. and they had like a pinball machine. We'd go in there and hit the pinball machine and listen to the races. That's when they had they'd have like the feature race of the day on the radio, and they would have all like the stretch calls, and we'd be looking at the paper and trying to pick who we thought might win. And, we might throw a buck out, whoever won, gets the money. But, it's kind of how it started. And then I went to the races, and I was pretty well hooked after that.
How old were you the first time you went to the races?
I was a lot older. I was probably like 20 when I started. I mean, nobody in my family ever went to the horse races. I mean, they never went. So, but I liked it. So I grew up, my grandfather always had mules and ponies and horses, and I enjoyed riding them and enjoyed going over there on the weekends and, helping out, cleaning stalls and messing with the horses. And so I just always enjoyed it.
Yeah. So you said you were pretty much hooked after the first time you went to the races. What grabbed you about it?
Honestly, I won money. I won money, and we hit, and I was just kind of hooked after that. And then the more I went, I became friends with a trainer. I wouldn't say friends, but we talked quite a bit, and then I ended up working for him. That was my first job on the track, Bobby Barnett. And then it just snowballed from there. I worked for him for a few years, and then I got an opportunity to work for Silverton Hill Farm. I went over and kind of managed the horse end of their farm, oversee breaking babies, rehab work. We had like a 7/8 training track on the farm, so we could get the babies going. I ended up getting a few horses that I just ran off the farm. So it worked out well.
So did you start like walking hots? I mean, you start kind of at the bottom?
Yeah, I started, I wasn't even, I really wasn't even full time with Bobby. I'd come in on the weekends. I had another job, and I'd come in on the weekends when I didn't have to work, which was about 3 weekends out of the month during Oaklawn. I would be down there, and I ate it up. I stayed down there. I learned how to, groom and walk hots and put on bandages and everything. And they didn't have to pay me. I just really wanted to learn how to do it. And then I hated my job. So I just told them, I said, you guys need help in Kentucky? They said, yeah. I said, all right, I'm going with you to Kentucky. I'm going to start walking hots full time for you.
What was the job that you hated?
Honestly, I worked for Enterprise Rent-A-Car, and I managed some offices for them. And it just got to be it wasn't a good deal. So I quit, and I had another job selling, like online ad stuff for like homestore.com to realtors or realtor.com type stuff, selling online ad space for realtors and stuff. And I just hated it. I would go in and make my calls and do my 2 hours on the phone every day. And then I was on the computer, looking at horse racing stuff online and stuff. I'm sure they loved that. I'm sure they could track everything I was pulling up on the computer at work.
Well, you must have really disliked those jobs and loved racing if you were willing to, work for free in one thing and leave a paying job on the other end.
Oh yeah, it was, gosh, I hated it. I really hate it. The Enterprise job was okay. It started off all right, but then at the end, things went bad, and I just said, I got to get out of here.
I interviewed for like, this is 100 years ago, 30 odd years ago. I think it was Enterprise, like they had like a management trainee program or something.
Yeah.
I went to, and it was like this cattle call interview with like 30 people in a room. And I was like, man, I sat there and I'm like, yeah, I could be into this. And then I listened to their pitch. I was like, oh my God, I would kill myself if I had to do
I was there. I did really well. I moved up pretty quickly, but it just got to where I just couldn't handle it anymore. I just didn't want to do it.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
but if you're up on the higher end of things, it was a pretty good deal. I tell you what, it was I don't know if they're still owned. I mean, it was like a family owned business. I mean,
Mhm.
one person still owned, one family still owned the whole thing when I was
Is that
working
right?
there. But
Wow.
that's 25 years ago, though.
Right.
Longer
Right.
than that. Actually, 27, 28 years ago.
I won't tell anyone.
You're listening
Yeah.
to trainer Greg Compton, interviewed on
Yeah, no,
Midlantic
I'm
Racing
interested.
Today.
So you kind of were have been at this now a number of years, but you've had 2022 through 2025, your four best years all in a row. Um, so it seems like sort of a slow build of your career, but
Yeah, it definitely it's been a slow burn for sure, but it seems like the last few years is definitely it's been a pretty sharp uptick in the performance as far as the stable goes, wins, money earned. It's
right.
all going in the right way.
What's been the key to that, you think?
I mean, with anything, you have to have really solid clients. I mean, it's people who are going to back you, even when things aren't going quite as well. They've got to keep the faith. Things work out. I'll say this: Danny Brown, he really helped me a lot. When he got in, he really wanted to be in the game, and we had horses, and we made some nice claims, and slowly started building it up to where I got noticed by some other people, and I've got a couple of really nice clients right now that want to be in the game.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. It's it's a pretty tough game, well, for everyone, but including owners. So you kind of need people who understand that, like,
Yeah.
yeah, the horse needs the time off, or he stunk it up today, but
And that's Oaklawn was a little slow this year. I mean, a lot of my better horses were on the shelf for Oaklawn. They're just now
mm,
starting to get back, like Embrace the Moment, GW's Girl, Kinsey Queen's run one race. She's going to definitely improve off of that one. She didn't run all that well, but she was ready to run, and the race was there, so we gave it a shot. It didn't quite work out like we were hoping, but she's come out of that race in great shape. If the weather wasn't so warm this weekend, she definitely would be working this weekend. Her first
mhm,
work back off the Obeah Stakes.
mhm,
So we probably will wait until Wednesday to breeze her.
mhm, mhm. And she was third in the Black Eyed Susan and the Delaware Oaks last year. So I think you'd really like to lock in a stakes win at some point, right?
Exactly. Uh, you know, uh, we'd love to get her back to that form like she was in the graded stakes. And we'll see how it all shakes. I mean, really, when we brought her back, my main goal, because I think she's distance is not going to be a problem for her. She'll run all day long. The Delaware handicap is kind of been the main goal in the back of my mind for her. And with it being moved, believe it's in September now.
Yeah.
That may work out really well on the calendar for her.
Yeah, you could get what? So she ran the Obeah, and that's July 1st. So you could get like two
Get a
more starts into it.
two more races, and hopefully we'd be looking for a peak performance when that
Yeah,
one rolls around.
sure, sure. No, that makes sense. Um, how do you guys like? How do you like a horse like that? You say, okay, the Delaware handicap is the goal. How do you work backward from that to make sure you're sort of arriving at peak form?
You know, that's a good question. I mean, it's been she's been back in training for a while. That first race is a throwout. I would like to knock out an allowance race with her. And then you just really kind of got to look on the schedule. I mean, right now, like I said, I need to knock out the allowance race first. Hopefully we can get a small, a listed stake somewhere underneath her before we get to the Delaware handicap. It's still a grade 3. So, I mean, if we could get that kind of black type win, it would be fantastic for her broodmare value.
Sure. Um, would you be looking like, so what kind of spacing do you want to have? Like, all right, so the dollar handicap, do you want to be 4 weeks out, 5 weeks out from
Yeah,
start
that would
tomorrow?
be, 4 weeks out from there. And I'd kind of circle it and kind of look for spots somewhere 4 to 5 weeks. If we needed if it had to be 3 weeks, I guess we could do 3 weeks, but I'd prefer like 4 to 5 weeks in between those races.
Yeah, you also have GW's girl was just third in one of those ratings handicaps. She's a multiple stakes winner, won a couple of stakes for you last year, and caught a pretty tough field in there. I mean, Onyx 10 won that race. She's a multiple stakes winner.
Exactly. Probably, I may have messed that one up. Technically, that race was really supposed to be for Kenzie Queen, but the owner was in town that weekend of the Obeah, so we ran her. That race didn't fill for the Saturday. They both happened to be eligible for it, so when we ran her, that made the spot open for GW's girl, and I went ahead and put her in there because she was training well out of her first race back. I might ran her back a little too quick. Probably should have given her a little bit more time and worked her one time in between there. And I told him to go ahead and said, be aggressive out of there. And we went out. Maybe we should have just laid off the pace a little bit, had more of the trip that Onyx 10 had. But she ran well. She didn't get beat much, maybe a length and a half for the whole thing. She ran well, and she's come out of it in good shape. She'll probably work back next weekend, and then we'll kind of start looking for a race for her. I think there's a race for her on the 24th, possibly 23rd, on the turf. And we're going to try her back on the turf. She ran first time out, won on the turf here at Delaware Park, and then ran well in the 2-year-old stake at Keeneland. The summer, I forgot it's called summer wind, I believe.
Okay.
Governor, anyway, but,
I'm sorry. So
Governor Sam won it. So, we're going to give her a shot back on the grass probably later in the month, towards the end of the month.
Yeah. So is that a situation where you'd rather have a dirt horse and that's why you focus on the dirt, just because there's more spots on the dirt? And of course, Oaklawn is all dirt. I mean, is that
Oaklawn's all dirt, but honestly, she's been very versatile. She's never really run a bad race in her life. I mean, I don't think surface for her. She's one of those that really doesn't matter. If you have ran against the right bunch, she's going to show up and run. And, the first stakes win at Oaklawn, she did beat She's So Spicy that day, who, ended up being champion 3-year-old filly. But, so she has the talent, and we just got to get her back to getting her back in that groove. Things kind of went south after we ran her at Keeneland. It was a bad track. Looking back, it's always easier to say, you know what, I should have just scratched.
Yeah.
But she really didn't come out of the race any worse. But that track was really not very good that day. But we had worked her the week before on a sealed muddy track. She handled it well. Actually, Jose Ortiz worked her that day. He was in town at Oaklawn riding that weekend, and he rode her at Keeneland. And he's like, said mud's not a problem for her. So we took our shot, and there's a difference between a sealed muddy track and that was a genuinely sloppy track at Keeneland that day. It was bad. So
yeah.
it, looking back, like I said, it's always easier looking back on it than, when you're living in the moment. We've got everybody there.
Right.
Everybody else got to run on the same track. She's handled the mud, so what do? We took a shot and she hated it. So
Well, lesson learned for the next time, right?
exactly. So,
Um,
we just remember that sloppy track, you just don't run.
yeah, yeah.
Just turn in the scratch card.
Right, right.
So,
Call it a day. You mentioned embrace the moment. She came in second the other day, but 2 races ago, boy, she was impressive, winning an allowance there. I mean, she went 44 and a piece for the half mile, which is blazing fast.
honestly, I don't know if I've ever had a horse run a half mile that quick in a race ever.
Yeah.
So, she's got some real talent, and we'll probably, even though she ran second in that allowance race against Older, she did get beat by Sassafras Ness, who's in really good form right now. Um, she's probably going to go to Colonial on August 1st for the Tyson Gilpin, going 7/8 against 3-year-old fillies. She's
Mm.
nom for it. We'll see who's showing up and see what happens there.
Do you think distance is I mean, is 7/8 going to be okay for her?
I think so. I think so. She ran in that 1 mile race in the Pocahontas flat mile, one turn at Churchill. Kind of got used up early that day, and I mean that's another one. We were a little aggressive with her after breaking the maiden. Um, Looking back, would have been
Yeah.
much easier to just wait opening weekend at Keeneland. There was a never win two allowance, but
Mm.
we took our shot, and she probably don't want to go further than 7/8, I think. And when I bought her, I told her, I said, I think the horse is, she's a sprinter. I said 7/8, maybe if you get the right bunch, a 1 turn mile, but it didn't, it just didn't work out that day for her. One
Yeah.
turn races is where she's going to be.
Yeah. Well, that pace, that Pocahontas, I think Dazzling Dame was part of the pace in that race too.
Yes.
That was like crazy fast early fractions.
Especially for lightly raced 2-year-old fillies. It was an
Right.
insane pace that day.
Yeah. I mean, I
So
kind of feel like that's almost a draw a line through a race for the horses that were part of the pace.
exactly. And the horse that won it came back and won um, off the long layoff down in New Orleans for McPeak. I forgot, taken by the wind.
Mm.
She came back off that race and won in January.
Hmm.
Um, you know, we'll see how that race ends up playing out. Everybody's come out of that race has been a pretty decent filly, I believe. Not
Yeah.
great, but pretty solid.
Right. Right. Yeah. Well, I mean, Dazzling Dame went and
I think she's a multiple stakes winner, is she
yeah,
not?
she's won stakes. She ran in the Kentucky Oaks. I think she finished
Yeah.
eighth, but the Oaks is pretty deep waters.
Oh
But
yeah,
yeah,
deep water.
um, so uh, have you guys have you moved into more sort of sales horses and those kind of horses versus claiming horses, or you have kind of the same mix, or
Probably a few more sale horses now. But I love claiming horses. But I just we kind of got off to a slow start at Oaklawn, so that you got to have the money to keep churning it and keeping everybody happy and involved and wanting to get some more. So Oaklawn was slow early. We picked it up late, and it's kind of carried over at Delaware. So
Mhm.
hopefully we've got everything built up and we can have a strong fall campaign claiming horses to take to Oaklawn and,
Mhm.
maybe buy some horses out of some sales or privately that will fit for Oaklawn this winter.
Mhm. What do you love about claiming horses?
You know, I don't like to make people look bad because it you can have one claimed off you, and then every time the horse runs and it wins, you think, man, but I just
Could have been
enjoy
mine.
it. I mean, I love claiming horses. I like looking at a form and saying, you know what, maybe this horse could do this. Maybe this horse was clearly bred to probably be a route horse when you look at the pedigree and they keep sprinting it or
Mhm.
something along those lines. Or maybe you just, happen to see a horse training and it kind of catches your eye and you find out who it is, and then you look it up and see where, what they've been doing, and just kind of keeping an eye on them and saying, oh, maybe I can do this a little different with this particular horse. And, it, there for a while, for a long time, it was working out really well for me. So, we claimed a few horses, turned them into stakes horses. We bought a few sell horses and they became stakes horses. So, like I said, the last 3 years, especially, we've had, some pretty strong success.
Yeah. Yeah, for sure. Do you, when you're claiming a horse, is it more, on what you see on the form, more what you might see on the track or in the morning? Where do you lean?
The biggest thing for me when I'm claiming horses, I really am a strong believer in the rags and sheets.
Okay.
I use those religiously when I'm claiming horses.
Mm-hmm.
For the level, you find a horse, maybe they popped a number, like when I claimed Auto Glide a couple years ago. When he broke his maiden, he ran like a 12 at Indiana Downs. A 12, which is a pretty strong number for winning a maiden race.
Mm-hmm.
And then he kind of went off form a little bit. I think they tried him on the turf a couple of times and put him on the dirt and this and that. Then they ran him on the poly, which he hated. And so I was like, you know what, this horse, you get him back on the dirt going long, you might have a shot with this horse for 30,000. Even with his bad races, his numbers look really solid for a 30, never win two. All right.
Mm-hmm.
So I was like, worst case scenario is you just run him back for 30,000. And we got him and we worked him a few times, liked him. I ran him back for 40, never win two. Probably should have won that day. We had a bug boy on him, kind of got in trouble, kind of fell back a little too far, came running, ran third, got beat maybe 2 lengths for it, galloped out really strong. Then I put Le Peru on him the next time and he won for like 50, never win two.
Mm-hmm.
Then he won on the last day of the meet at Oaklawn. Le Peru was there again. We won the allowance race with him at Oaklawn. I mean, that was huge because that was like $130,000 pot. So we had won 2 out of 3 after claiming him for 30. So we get him up here. He wins the 2 other than allowance, and then he won the Battery Park after that. So he won 4 races in a row for us.
Mm-hmm.
But I'm, like I said, I'm a real big believer in looking at the sheet numbers on these horses when we're trying to claim.
Yeah, it's funny. Like it seems like most trainers have something that they religiously use, and a lot of times it's rags or thoroughgraph.
And I'll go back and I'll watch races and see how they're moving, making sure they don't look like they're sore or something like that. We'll go back and watch. I'll watch a lot of videos to see if they had problems, if there's an excuse or what have you. But the sheets is a big thing that I use to claim horses.
Yeah, interesting. Years ago, I used to own horses, and we claimed a horse named Skeleton Crew, and we ran him back and won, and then we ran him back again, and he finished second and got claimed. And the guy who claimed him ended up running him for like 9 more years. He was, I think, 13 when they retired him.
That horse was out of Kentucky at one time, wasn't it? Pat Huffman had that horse.
He ran. I want to say he ran in like the Battaglia or one of those races at like way fringe of the Triple Crown Trail, like Turfway.
Yeah.
He had gotten claimed, He was a fantastic horse because like everybody who touched him did well with him. We claimed him for 20 or 25, won a race, lost him for 25, I think. And then this guy won a bunch of races, turned him into a turf sprinter, JBC Corps. But the funny thing about it was, I think Scott Lake had him. I think we claimed him from Lake. And then JB called Lake because they were friends and said, this horse is in. Should I claim him? And Lake said, you should absolutely claim him. You'll do good with him. But don't look at him before you claim him because he's like, all knees and this and that. He's like, just don't look at him. Just claim him. And he ran him back probably 40 more starts for like 8 or 9 more years and did great with him. So you just never know, right?
Exactly.
All right. Anything else I should ask you about before I let you go?
No, I mean, we've got a few young horses we just bought out of the sale down in at OBS in Ocala.
Okay.
They may have their first work this weekend. It'll depend on the weather. They may wait until next week as well. But hopefully those, we spent a little money on a couple of them. Bought an early voting colt. He seems to be a pretty hot commodity right now. Early voting's off to a strong start. I think he's already had 6 winners out of his first crop.
Wow. 6 already?
Yeah. I think he's won 6 out of 10 so far. So,
wow. All right.
He just had one get beat ahead in the Bashford Manor at Churchill the other day for
Oh yeah,
Doug
the long
O'Neill.
shot came and picked him up at the end.
Picked him up at the very end, yeah. After he'd kind of laid down all the pace, and he just
they
got
went
nailed
fast
right
too, didn't they?
at 9 and change, I believe.
Yeah.
So, he looks like he might be a nice colt. Then we bought another freshman sire, Jackie's Warrior. He looks really fast.
He just had his first winner down at Colonial the other day.
Yes.
Jackie's Warrior.
So
is it true? Nobody ever died with a unraced 2-year-old in the barn. Are you looking forward to getting those guys out there?
Yeah, we're we bought those horses. Hopefully that they should make it as 2-year-olds. We're pretty excited about them. They're nice horses. Bought a Justify filly and a Candy Ride filly down there. And then we just bought a Charlatan colt online. That's what the phone call was. The guy from Brookledge was calling about picking that horse up, I think tomorrow. Okay. And he's going to go to be here Saturday morning. Nice.
So will these, if all goes to plan, and I understand nothing ever goes to plan in horse racing, but if things go to plan, will we see some of these guys at Delaware?
That is the plan. If you want to know the truth, they'll run at Delaware.
Okay.
Even though we paid, substantial amount on the 2 colts at OBS. I mean, I'm a firm believer in teaching these horses. I want them to win. I want them to learn how to win first off. And, even though the pots aren't as big as they are at Churchill, you go to a place like Churchill, Saratoga. I mean, you can get stuck in them maiden races for quite a while and just get kind of ground up in those races.
Yeah.
If you're going to run against tough horses, you might as well do it in stakes races where you can kind of increase the value of the horse.
Yeah.
And you're running for better money. So,
sure.
If you're looking to get out on making a win in a maiden special weight, then, you're probably in the wrong business. We're looking for something better than that.
Yeah, sure.
So,
and I hear you on that. Like, I knew a guy who he had a horse that eventually won a grade 1 with. He had started him in like a bottom maiden claimer. He was like real modestly bred. There was no real danger of losing the horse. And he told me later, he's like, I believe that that was important for this horse, like, because he could just go out and win, have a good experience. Like, that set him up to go forward from there. So there's something to be said for, putting them in a spot that they can manage first, first time out of the box.
Yeah, I mean, and we've done well here the last few years with our 2-year-olds. I don't know what my percentage is over the last 3 years running 2-year-olds at Delaware Park, but I would imagine it's pretty solid.
Yeah.
So,
All right. Well, we'll look forward to seeing the 2-year-olds and the rest of the Compton barn on the track at Delaware Park. Greg, thanks so much for joining me here. Really appreciate it.
I appreciate it. Thank you.
Next up, Frank Vespi talks with Delaware Park analyst Stan Salter on Midlantic Racing Today.
Hey, Stan, good to see you. What's it been like in Delaware? We got 2 days canceled because of the extreme heat. How's everybody holding up there?
Everybody's fine. All the horsemen are working hard. A big thank you to all the horsemen and the horses for being the star of the show. It's hot up here in Delaware. It's hot in the whole Mid-Atlantic area. In New York, it seems like the whole country's over 100 degrees right now. So, we had a good card yesterday on Wednesday. We did over 2 million in handle yesterday. So that was pretty good. We started at 11 o'clock in the morning on Wednesday. No racing on Thursday and Friday. We have a good card on Saturday. First race post time this Saturday's 10 a.m. We have 6 thoroughbred races Saturday, and then it's our second annual Safari Sprint. This was really popular last year. We had a full packed house for the Safari Sprint. It's the ostriches, camels, and zebras. They start at 12 o'clock on Saturday. 12 o'clock, 1 o'clock, and 2 o'clock are the exotic animal races. So looking forward to that. Hopefully the hot weather doesn't keep a big crowd away. We have good air conditioning inside in the grandstand. Good air conditioning in the Del Cap room if you want to get lunch, or in the High Stakes Brewery if you want to get a steak or a nice cold beer from our brewery. So the AC is working here at Delaware Park. There's a lot of trees down by the paddock, so the horses have shade, and all our trainers and grooms and horsemen are pretty smart, and we have good vets up here. Most racetracks have good vets, so all the horses are getting plenty of hosing off and staying cool and fresh, cool water. So they're well taken care of. I think Delaware Park made the right call by canceling Thursday and Friday. We got compliments from horsemen all over the country for that. They called it early, I think on Monday. Monday they made the decision to cancel on Thursday and Friday. Just too hot these 2 days. It's gonna be like 100 and 115 degrees on Thursday and Friday. So hopefully Saturday will be a little bit better. We're gonna start early at 10 in the morning, so it's not that bad at 10 in the morning. And then the thoroughbred action, the last thoroughbred race on Saturday is race 6. That goes off here. Race 6 goes off at 1:30. So the thoroughbreds will be done by 1:30. So hopefully we'll be done, early enough before the real heat comes on Saturday. The hottest part of the day is after 3 o'clock. So we'll be finished well before then, and the horses will be getting hosed off in the paddock and plenty of water and everything, and they'll be shortened post parades. They won't be out there in the post parade very long. They'll wait in the paddock extra long. They probably won't leave the paddock until about like 4 minutes to post, and then have shortened post parades get right to the gate, so they're not out there in the heat that long. And then when they come back, there's plenty of hoses and watering off stations all along the track for all the grooms and trainers to hose their horses off right away when they come back. So hopefully we'll beat the heat. I see the barns, they're finishing up early in the mornings, trying to beat the heat, and that's good. That means the grooms and the hot walkers and everybody and the exercise riders can finish early and get some cold beer going. I see plenty of cold beer going on. We got a cooler full of cold beer outside my bunkhouse. I have a couple of racing officials as my neighbors up here at Delaware Park. So as long as you keep the horses cool and keep the beer ice cold, you're good to go in the heat.
Yeah, you need those things for sure. Let's talk about last week for a minute. You had a couple stakes. They came off the turf, which was unfortunate. I was surprised they let Miss Fulton gal go at 7-1 in the Christiana. She's a stakes winner on dirt, had made her last couple starts in graded company. What about you?
Yeah, you know, because I heard Mike Gorham. He wanted the better, and the owners wanted the better, but she was like 2-1 as they were going in the gate, and they just bet a little bit, I think, instead of betting more because they figured out 2-1. They didn't want to bet that much, and then the late money rolled in. I was running around there. I'm trying to think who the favorite was. I think it might have been.
Soloist.
Okay,
Soloist.
Soloist, the Kenny McPeak filly by Into Mischief. Yeah, that was her first time on the main track, so they made her the favorite. So the late money was wrong in the Christiana. Miss Fulton gal went off at a real generous price. She paid $17.20 to win. Still a big day for Michael Gorham. He's happy he won the race, whether he bet big or not.
Right.
It's a big win for Trot Racing Stable and Five Sisters Stable. That's Jimbo Brachelli's wife and 5 daughters. They were all here in the winner's circle, and the Trot family was here. Mr. Trot, he's married to one of the Brachelli daughters, so it was a family affair in the race in the winner's circle. John was another partner that was there. I got to meet them all. It was a big crowd, and they were jubilant. They have a multiple stakes winner now, Miss Fulton gal. She won the Beyond the Wire at Laurel back in March. I thought she ran well in the Weber City Miss. She closed that day to be fourth in an 8-horse field. She probably just wasn't on her A game in the Black Eyed Susan. She didn't run too bad in that race. She was fifth in a 9-horse field. She wasn't beaten too far. She got a 68 by her speed figure in the Black Eyed Susan. And that race was turning up to be a pretty tough race. My Miss Mo, the Safi Joseph winner that day, was real sharp and jumping the gun, came back and ran a big second in the Delaware Oaks here at Delaware Park. So that was a tough Black Eyed Susan. It was a grade 2. So the Christiana was a little bit easier than the Black Eyed Susan. It came off the turf, so she got her surface that she's already made 160,000 on. They wanted to try her on the turf. I don't know about now. Now that she won, you come back and do the same thing once they start winning. But they might try her on the turf one day. Her sire, Rock Your Worlds by Candy Ride. So that's some solid turf pedigree on the top side there. But she's razor sharp now. She's in awesome form right now. She had a big late rally to get by Soloist in the stretch. It was a nice ride by Raul Mena, and happy for the Mike Gorham barn and all the owners. It was a big win for Miss Fulton gal, and hard to believe she paid $17.20.
Yeah, no, that's what I was thinking too. In the other stake, the Kent, McCready won. Gives Carol Cedeno, who suffered a serious injury late last year, her first stakes win of her comeback year.
Yeah, good to see Carol in the winner's circle for a big stake race. Yeah, McCready by Practical Joke, who's a nice sire, stands for 75,000. He's by Into Mischief. This colt's out of a Tappet mare, so some real nice breeding. He was making his main track debut. His previous 4 races were all on the turf. He was a 2-time winner already on the turf, so it was a bit of a question mark how he'd handle the main track, and it was a sloppy track at that. He paid a nice price. He paid $16.80 to win the Kent, and somebody took down the pick 5 that started the late pick 5 that started race 4. It was one ticket that took down the whole pool for over 9,200. So whoever that was, congratulations on a big score in the pick 5. Yeah, McCready probably shouldn't have been that big of a price, but he slipped away at a good price, and nice ride by Carol. Great to see her in the winner's circle for a big race here at Delaware Park, her home track.
And then one other thing to just touch on is, the winningest horse in the country, do it again, 7 straight.
Yeah, Kernus K. He loves it here at Delaware Park. He trains here at Delaware Park, I believe, for trainer Jamie Ness. Well, either Delaware or Parks. That's where Ness is stable, but Ness has a big stable here at Delaware Park. Yeah, he's won 7 in a row. He was tied before the race. He was tied with 3 other horses that all had 6 wins this year. So now he has 7. So I believe he's the only one with 7 wins right now in the country, and And he's won 3 in a row here at Delaware Park, and 7 in a row in total. And he was far back down the backstretch. I mean, he was last down the backstretch, and he started moving at the quarter pole, making a big move, and got up in the final strides and paid $3. That's not too bad for a horse that's been dominating starter allowance ranks. You know, I thought he might pay like 260, 240, but $3 not that bad of a price on Curtis K. And he'll be right back in one of these starter allowance races in his next start, looking for 8 in a row. And I don't see any reason why anybody's going to beat him. So yeah, nice to see him win here at Delaware Park. He's by Great Notion, that longtime top sire down there in Maryland. He's been retired out of an Include mare, of course. Include the Pimlico Special winner back when it was a Grade 1 for Buddy Delp and the Meyerhoffs, and bred by Bowman in Higgins stable. Bowman, that's Dr. Tom Bowman and his wife, and he has his son, Dr. Brooke, and his daughter, Becky, and so some other family members in on his stable, and the Milton Higgins stable. Milton's passed away, I believe, but he was a longtime supporter of the scholarship program for backstretch workers in Maryland. Milton Higgins was, and Dr. Bowman. So great to see them doing well and breeding some good horses. Hopefully they start getting the Maryland bred bonus up here. And now that there's no racing down in Maryland, I think Maryland breds will get the Maryland bred bonus while Maryland's dark and they're running at Colonial. So yeah, it was a big win, and Jamie owns part of this horse with one of his main owners, Morris Cronin Jr., and a good ride by Martin Schwann, who I believe it might have been the first time he'd ever been on the horse, at least recently. Hazelwood and Paco has been riding the horse recently. So yeah, good to see him get a big win. He kicked things off on Saturday, and then yeah, you had Miss Fulton Gal, and then the Kent winner, and then Pachelbel in race 7, that starter allowance. She's a nice mare. She pulled off a little upset. She got her 13th lifetime win. She paid 1080 because the Onyx 10 was a heavy 2 to 5 favorite in that race, and she just didn't have it. So you got Pachelbel, who was 9 to 5 morning line and went off 4 to 1. So I think that's what helped that big late pick 5 payout of over 9,200.
All right, that's Saturday. Let's look ahead to this coming Saturday. I'm guessing you don't have any insight at all on how to bet the zebras, so maybe we'll just stick with the thoroughbreds here.
I got the names, though. I got the names. And we got the ostriches at 12 o'clock. You got Henhouse Harry versus 4 other rivals in there. The zebras are at 1 o'clock. You got Stars and Stripes going against Prison Break and a couple others in the zebra edition. I remember some of these names from last year. Then the camels at 2 o'clock. You got Humpty Dumpty versus 3 other rivals. So yeah, 12 o'clock, 1 o'clock, and 2 o'clock for the exotic animal races. People can win some money. You can pick your winners in the ostrich, camel, or zebra races. Go to any kiosk from 10 o'clock to 2 o'clock. You can win up to 50 slot dollars. So a chance to make money on the big safari sprint. Hopefully we get a big crowd out here like we had last year. Last year, every seat in the joint was taken for it. We had nice weather last year. It wasn't 110 degrees last year, so hopefully we'll be starting early enough on Saturday to get everything in.
Yeah, it was crazy. I was watching the races that day. It was crazy how big the crowd was. So hopefully you get that again. But let's talk about the thoroughbreds a little bit. You got a 6-race card, a little bit of a truncated card there.
Big fields on Saturday.
What you got for me?
Well, race 1's a tough one to kick off the early pick 5 with that low 15% takeout. You have a 10-horse field in race 1. It's the old beaten nickel, 3 and up. Haven't won a race since January 2nd or never won 4, going 6 furlongs. The morning line favored in the race is the 8. Estilo Magico, 2 to 1 morning line for trainer Mike Simone. He's your second leading trainer of the meet behind Jamie Ness, and you get Julio Hernandez to ride, and Julio's your second leading rider of the meet behind Paco. Now, this horse didn't run very well last out. That was a beaten 7,500 down at Laurel. Didn't run well at all, but was in good form before that earlier this spring down at Tampa. He's a two-time winner at Delaware Park, so he'll be a factor. Jamie Ness has the 4 Majestic Tiger in there, who's 3-1 morning line with the 7-pound apprentice Emmanuel Rosario to ride. Now, Majestic Tiger's been going long, cutting back to a sprint. He didn't run well last time here at Delaware going long. He was second, 2 back on a muddy track going long. So now he's cutting back to a sprint. I like that angle. That's one of my favorite angles now. The Nest Barn from a pretty large sample recently. They're about 17% route to sprints. That's a pretty good number. Now this horse is 0 for 11. Majestic Tiger is a 5-time winner. He's made over 200,000, but he's 0 for 11 at Delaware Park. He does have 5 seconds in 1/3. So I one of my nicknames for my cat is Majestic Tiger. He's an orange cat. So I'll root on this horse. He's an 8-year-old chestnut gelding, looking for his 6th lifetime win, but his first win here at Delaware Park. So I'll probably root on him. The old 10-horse field beat nickel to kick things off. When I worked in the racing office in Maryland, I'd always get assigned the beat nickel race. It was race 1 in the book every day, and everybody else would get the allowance races and maiden special weights to hustle, and I'd always get the beat nickel. I went to my boss, George Ann Hale, and I said, "Why am I always getting the beat nickel race to hustle?" And she explained to me the beat nickel races are the bread and butter of racetracks. You get big 10-horse fields like this. This will probably be one of the biggest handles of the day on Saturday. So, yeah, it's nice to have those big, fancy maiden special weight and allowance races, but you need these beaten nickel races, these big 10-horse field. They're the bread and butter of any racetrack. So this is a challenging race to get to kick off. You got the 2 favorites for your 2 leading trainers of the meet, and then you got a bunch of long shots. So we'll see. 10-horse field to kick things off. Race 2 is a nice maiden 25,000 for 3-year-old fillies going 5.5 furlongs. The Mac Robertson filly, the 4 Molly the Cat, looks like she's your no, she's second choice at 3-1. The morning line favorites on the outside. The 7 Capricorn Bell, 2-1 morning line for Cal Lynch. Julio Hernandez rides her. She ran well at this level last time. She just got beat a nose back on June 20th. That was first time blinkers, second time Lasix. So she's in good form right now. She has early speed and a good outside post. She should be able to dictate the early terms down the backstretch with a good rider like Julio. She'll get a trouble-free trip out in clean air, I hope. So the 7 Capricorn Bell, your favorite, looks tough there in race 2. The Mac Robertson filly is coming out of the same race, and Mac's filly was third, only beaten a half. So if you like the 7, you have to like the 4 Molly the Cat, the 2 favorites. They look tough there in race 2. So if you go with a lot of coverage in race 1, that 10-horse field, maybe you can get by in the second race with just taking a couple favorites. In race 3 is a 7,500 2 life, 3 and up, going 2 turns on the main track. That's a 7-horse field. The morning line favorite in there looks like is the 4 Tall Cotton. Carol Sedania rides that gelding for Michelle Castillo. That horse is running first off the claim. The Castillo Barns won 3 races from 17 starts this meet. Now, Tall Cotton was the beaten favorite last time at this level, was claimed from the Wayne Potts barn. So he's going to have to do better. He got beat 13 lengths at this level last time, so he might be a bit of a vulnerable favorite there in race 3. That's a 7-horse field, so maybe we get a price on. Mike Simone has the 6 Chaperone in there, 3-1 morning line. That horse was running first off the claim too. He was a beaten favorite badly last time, so looks like your 2 favorites could be vulnerable there in race 3. Then the turf starts in race 4. Stop me whenever you want. I'm on a roll here.
Well, you are on a roll. I'll just jump in. So the turf, you got your all turf pick 3, which is going to be the last 3 races on the card on Saturday, races 4, 5, and 6. And I guess the 6th is the sort of officially the feature.
Yep.
Anyway, go ahead. Yeah, so you got a mile and 16th for the fourth race on the turf. Keep rolling, man. You're doing it.
Oh yeah, starter allowance claiming here in the fourth race. The favorite in the race, I wasn't too thrilled with. Looks like the morning line favored. Yeah, the morning line favorite is the 3% at 5-2 for trainer Kathleen DeMasi. Jose Batista rides. This horse had a disaster at Saratoga on June 7th. Just was never running at all after getting bumped at the start. Then the comment says equine ambulance. So I'm gonna have to go back and watch that race and find out exactly what happened. The horse didn't finish the race and was taken off the track in the equine ambulance. So I want to see how badly he pulled up. He's running back here quick. He's running back here in less than a month. Kathleen DeMasi is a good horseman. She trains at Monmouth and Parks. So we'll see. That's not the kind of horse that I like. So I'll be trying to beat the favorite in race 4. And the favorite's a 3%, 5-2. I'm probably against that horse. The 3 Galatown Guy at 8-1 morning line. That horse is interesting. He won first time out on June 11th at a real big price, 47-1 in a maiden 25,000. He stalked the early pace. He was right there turning for home and got up in the final strides by a head, 60 Beyer speed figure. That's not bad. So that was a real productive, positive first race. 60 Beyer. Maybe he can jump up to a 70 something and win this race. So he looks interesting at 8-1. I can't say I like the favorite at all after that last Saratoga race. The 3% I'm against. And then you have Kathleen O'Connell has a horse in there who's 7-2. I've Kathleen O'Connell. I've worked with her a lot when I worked in the racing office down at Colonial Downs, and when she'd run horses in Maryland. She's a great trainer. I think she's the winningest female trainer in the country. She's won, I think, well over 2,000 races. But this horse is 7-2. Ran a couple clunkers on the turf. Maiden special weight at Saratoga and maiden special weight at Kentucky Downs. So yes, those are 2 monster tough races. Did not run well in either of those races. Then was dropped in for maiden 25. Looked like Miguel Clement was training the horse. Clement dropped the horse in for a maiden 25 at Tampa this past April, coming off the layoff. That was his 3-year-old debut. He won that day as the favorite. First time Lasix, he won. First time dirt. KO claimed him for 20,000. Now has him in this race on the turf. He's 7-2. He's got to show me he can run a little bit on the turf. Looks like obviously his better race was on the main track when he won with a 67 Beyer speed figure over multiple next out winners. So KO's forgotten more about horse racing than I have. So I guess you got to trust her a little bit that she thinks the horse can run on the turf.
Yeah, this is a really interesting race. I mean, you there's a bunch of ways you could think about. I mean, Brady has run the 8 horses run some good races on the turf. The 9 horses run a couple of okay races on the turf. Blue suede hooves. I mean, there's a bunch of ways you could go in this contest, and I'm with you on the favorite. You kind of, I'll wait and see on that one. The horse is coming off of Van Doff. I'm not gonna take favoritism on. So interesting race there. The 4th, the 5th is maiden 16s going a mile on the green stuff.
This race, my goodness, everybody's just throwing stuff at the wall, seeing what sticks here. They get a bunch of bad dirt form horses trying the turf for the first time. The even money favored is the 4 Will of Victory for trainer Michael Stidham, powerful stable that's based here at Delaware Park. Julio Hernandez rides his 3-year-old daughter of War of Will. They tried her on the turf for the debut June 2nd at Penn National in a maiden special weight going a mile on a firm turf course. She was 6-1 there for the debut, and she was a little wide, didn't have the best trip, and had no finish. She was well beaten in that race. That was a maiden special weight at Penn National. Now it's a maiden 16 at Delaware, so a little bit of a class relief for this filly. She's by War of Will, a Warfront sire. War of Will won a Grade 1 on the turf after he won the Preakness. I believe he won the turf race when he was a 4-year-old. So she has some turf pedigree. We'll see though. Even money, she might be over bet there because of the connections and the drop in class. But other than that, you have to go deep in this race. It's a big 12-horse field going a mile on the turf. Yeah, I mean you need at least 5 or 6 in here. There's just a bunch of horses trying the turf for the first time that haven't run well on the main track. So I'll have to try to look up a lot of breeding here, see if I can find any turf pedigree for some of these horses trying the turf for the first time. Race 5's a big time maze.
Yeah, it's kind of like if you're buying Will of Victory, I'm not sure you want to use anyone else, but if you're not buying Will of Victory, then you need a bunch of them. I would think that's probably right.
Yep.
And you got a lot of pedigree work to be done for the handicapper in race 5, and then race 6, an allowance contest going 5/8, also on the grass, $55,000 purse, nice purse. So what you got there?
Nice purse here. Looks like the morning line favored in this race is the 6. Duboff, who's 5-2 morning line. Cipriana Gill named the ride for trainer Greg Sacco. Interesting that this filly is eligible for the race. Now she's won 4 times. This is a filly and mare 3 and up, which have not won 20,000 once, other than maiden, claiming, starter, or restricted, or which have never won 2. All right, so the maiden race doesn't count. The claiming race doesn't count. Her 3rd race that she won last August at Monmouth was a state bred, a New Jersey bred allowance race. Okay, so that race doesn't count. But then this past January at Tampa, she won a 2 other than allowance race, optional claiming 32,000, but she was not in for the claiming. She was in for the allowance condition, the 2 other than. She won that race, 81 by her speed figure, and now she's in a first level allowance race. So my thinking is the purse down at Tampa, this is a New Jersey bred. At Tampa, you have big purses for the Florida breds, but not big purses for everybody else. So my thinking is the purse of that Tampa race must have been so low that they didn't get 20,000 for the win, which makes her eligible for this race. So
That's correct. I just looked it up actually. The winner's share of the purse was 19,430. So she just slides in under the 20,000 cutoff.
Okay, all right. So Greg Sacco found a real nice race for this 4-year-old filly by Handsome Mike. That was a nice win last January, going 5/8 on the turf at Tampa. Big 81 by her speed figure. We're going 5/8 on the turf here in this race. So she's been off since January. She's been working here at Delaware. Her last several works are here at Delaware. You don't have to be too fit to go 5 furlongs. You just have to be fast, and she has some early speed. She was stalking that pace at Tampa before she got up to win, and they went quick, 21 and change, 43 and change, and what was that final time? 56 and 1. So they were cooking, and that was on a good turf course. So the 6 Dubois, she looks awfully tough as the favorite there in race 6. Mac Robertson has a nice filly by Yapan, the 1 Splendid Song, who's 10-1. She just had a nice maiden win here at Delaware in a maiden special weight, going 5.5 on the main track. She's making her turf debut, so we'll have to look up her pedigree, see if there's anything there. Jamie Ness has the 4 Ready for Trouble in there. Martin Schwann named to ride this 5-year-old mare by World of Trouble, and she ran a decent 4th last out in a first level allowance at Penn National June 11th. She just got beat 3/4 of a length in that race. She's been the beaten favorite her last 2 races. Sloppy track 2 back at Laurel and turf last out at Penn National. So she's 0 for 4 on the turf, but she's run a couple decent. Well, that at least her last race on the turf was pretty good, and she was 3rd at Penn National 3 starts ago on the turf. So she could be interesting at 8-1. And then the outside horse, My Girl Back Home, comes out of that same race that the Nest filly does. This My Girl Back Home was second in that race, beating the nose, going 5/8 on the turf at Penn National last out. So that filly might be tough. She has some early speed. She's going to have to use some of that early speed down the backstretch, so she's not caught 5 or 6 wide going into the 3/8 pole, breaking from the 10 hole. But I think this favorite looks real tough here in this race. The 6 Dubois for Greg Sacco. She looks real tough in there.
Yeah, no, I think that's right. A horse that's already won past the condition is usually pretty tough when they drop back into it. All right, that's Saturday's card. Six thoroughbred races, 3 exotic animal contests. One other thing I just wanted to touch on, excuse me, just occurred to me. Danny Santino gets his 3,500th win yesterday at July 1st at Delaware. Pretty nice milestone there for a rider that's been doing it for a long time.
Yeah, veteran rider. He's won the Delaware Oaks here before. Good to see him get the big win here at Delaware Park. I believe that was on the Cal Lynch horse on the turf yesterday, Capitaine, if my memory is correct. So yeah, good to see him. He hasn't ridden too much here at Delaware this meet. He's kind of looks like he's selecting his spots pretty good. But I think he has 3 or 4 wins from a small amount of mounts here this meet. He had a big winner at Tampa. Looks like he's focusing most of his time on the Tampa winter meet. He likes the warm weather down there. Who can blame him?
Right.
They got one of the nicest turf courses in the country down there. So he does well at Tampa, and he's been doing well here. Good to see him get the big win here at Delaware Park yesterday.
And then last thing, and I'll let you go, but I just had to mention this too. Paco Lopez, leading rider at Delaware Park, also the leading rider by a mile at Monmouth Park, also the leading rider after opening weekend at Colonial Downs. And I don't think I've ever seen a rider be concurrently the leading rider at 3 different racetracks. Have you?
Yeah, he's a rock star right now. Of course, he's famous. Everybody knows him after the Preakness win. But a lot of horse people knew him before that. He wins a lot of races. He has kind of an unorthodox style. He kind of right. He's the Ivor Zimmerman of jockeys. Ivor Zimmerman was a famous show horse rider. Won a lot of races. Used to compete against Rodney Jenkins and everything. And Ivor rode like Humpty Dumpty. He rode all bent over and with a long rein. Everybody kind of laughed at him, but he was one of the best show riders ever. He rode Stocking Stuffer, who was a champion horse of the year back in the 70s. He rode and showed horses for August A. Bush, and he was a funny looking rider, but he was one of the best. And that's kind of how Paco is. He's a funny looking rider, but he's got natural instinct. He has great balance, and he has no fear. He's relaxed. He can ride on a long rein and get horses to relax that way and save a lot of finish for the end. He's kind of like he might have learned how to be a good jockey playing that Gallop Racer game. You ever play that Gallop
Never
Racer
did.
game on PlayStation? It was a
No, I
good
never
game.
did.
I played it one summer. My first summer living down at Colonial Downs. I lived with Jed Doro and PJ Payne, Pasquale Payne, and Chris Campitelli was there a lot. And we all played Gallop Racer after the races. And then I played it with Albin one summer up at Saratoga. He was a groom up there. And Gallop Racer, you can't use your horse too much. If you try to rate the horse too much early on, or if you try to use too much speed early on, it compromises your energy levels in the stretch, and you don't do good. But if you can preserve all the energy early on in the race, and give the horse a perfect relaxed ride, when you turn for home, the thing starts spinning in the upper right hand corner, and as things start flashing and everything, the horse just takes a burst down the stretch and beats everybody. So that's kind of like Paco. He knows how to conserve a lot of energy by getting horses to relax and they have more run in the stretch. So I heard he even likes to ride with a loose girth because you have a real tight girth that might take some energy out of a horse. He tells his valets and trainers when they're putting the saddle on, they leave the girth a hole or two loose, and
Oh,
maybe he'll tighten it. Maybe he'll tighten it before he goes into the gate, or maybe he won't. But I've heard he does that as a little trick, and he has such good balance that he's probably one of the only few riders that can do that.
yeah. No, that's interesting. I didn't know that, but yeah, I mean, the guy not too popular in the room sometimes as he's gotten into some tiffs with his fellow riders, but the guy can
Yeah,
ride. There's no question
so I
about
heard it.
that.
So he's gonna ride. He's gonna ride at Delaware on Wednesdays, and then the plan is to ride Colonial, I guess, Thursday through Sunday. However, he's named on a bunch of horses up at Saratoga this opening weekend. So he's gonna be he's gonna be riding up in Saratoga. I'm sure if he's named on live mounts up at Saratoga, that's gonna take precedent over everything. So you could see him as leading rider at Monmouth, Delaware, and Colonial, and riding a bunch of stake winners up at Saratoga this summer. I'm sure Bookham Daniel will be riding up there this summer, I'd imagine.
Yeah, well, they said his next start's going to be at Monmouth in a little stake at Monmouth, where I imagine he'll be 1-9. But I think they're pointing at one race at Saratoga. I can't remember which one, but probably is it the Vanderbilt? There's a grade one up there
Yeah, you got the
later in the week.
Vanderbilt, and the Forego up
Yeah,
there.
I think they're going to pass on one of those and point at the other. I think that's what they said anyway. So,
All right, so we all got to keep up with Paco. He's all over the place.
he is all over the place and he wins all over the place. Amazing run he's on. All right, Stan Salter, thanks so much for joining me here on Midlantic Racing Today, Delaware Park Today. Appreciate it.
All right, Frank, stay cool. And you coming for the Zebras on Saturday?
I'm going to pass the Zebras. Just too much energy, too much work to get there by 10 in the morning. So I'll watch it online.
Yeah, the pick 5 players, the early pick 5 starts at 1. It starts in race 1 at 10 in the morning. And then we have a late pick 5 that starts races 2 through 6. So pick 5 starting races 1 and 2 this Saturday.
All right, get those pick 5 tickets in early. Good luck, everybody. And Stan, we'll talk to you next week.
All right, thanks, Frank. Good luck.
Thanks to Delaware Park on-air analyst Stan Salter. Thanks to trainer Greg Compton. And most of all, thanks to you for listening or watching and hopefully liking and subscribing to Midlantic Racing Today, Delaware Park Today. Midlantic Racing Today, powered by the Racing Biz, theracingbiz.com, and our Delaware Park Today is presented by our friends at Delaware Park Racing and Casino. We'll be right back at you next week. Meanwhile, hope you have a great 4th, everybody. Happy Independence Day. My name is Frank Vespi. This has been Midlantic Racing Today, Delaware Park Today. We'll catch you next week.